Right now.
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 Because it's time to right now.
Right now.
Right.
Right now.
Welcome to the August 80-48-18 Writing Challenge. I am joined by some of our friends, and I am so excited. I just want to welcome you. This is our monthly challenge in August where we are all coming together as writers in the community and challenging ourselves to just write and get into a solid writing routine. After maybe we've been taking a break throughout the summer, and maybe we're like, okay, now's the time to get back into it. So whether you are going for one of the tiers, one of the plans, we'll explain that in just a second. But welcome to the community. I'm Kaufman. Today, we're going to do a couple writing sprints. We'll be starting off with a 45-minute writing sprint. Before then, we'll talk a little bit about what does this challenge entail. And then we'll kind of share what our goals are, and we will hop in there. Welcome to the stream. I'm Kaufman, daily writing streamer, fantasy author, nerd, and believer that if you have a writing problem, just put a dragon on it. All right, my friends, what is my goal? And I have not yet decided what my goal is. I might do it by word count sprints. But welcome to the community. I'll let my friends here introduce themselves. Mama Maggie, take it away. Oh, you're muted.
It wouldn't be a marathon if somebody didn't pop on muted, if there weren't tech gremlins. It's just the way it works out. Hello, lovelies. Mama Maggie Ward, independent author, stroke survivor, migraine overcomer. I have these books, and I have these books, and I have Shiley the Barn Feral, who has decided that she is my writing companion now. Yes, and for the All the Words August, I've decided that I'm going to do the 80,000 word tier 3, and I'm going to do plan 2, which is 21 days a month, 5 days a week, writing from Fridays through Tuesdays.
Ooh, that is so exciting. And I'll throw up the plans up in just a second. Thank you so much for that, Mama Maggie. And Shannon, I'll let you kick it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shannon. I write under the pen name of S.G. Houston, a fantasy romance author. I also have a YouTube channel where you can find me doing writing sprints like 4 days a week. And also 1/3 of the Self-Publishing Tips and Tricks podcast, which you can also find on YouTube, but it's also on podcast platforms. And part of the Authortube Writing Conference, which we just had our fourth annual one that just happened at the end of June. You can catch me and Kaufman there if you go check it out. I don't know if Kaufman, if you still have it linked on your channel or not, but it is still linked on my channel, and it might be on Devin's as well. And my goal is to write. I'm going for like the tier plan is the 80K, but I'm probably going to hit 100K. Although right now at this moment, I'm still trying to catch up on things I need to get done because I was off for the last 2.5 weeks, and everything piles up when you're gone. So.
Awesome, Shannon. So glad to have you join us. And of course, Chatzel, take it away.
Hey, everyone. So I got my books here. Technically, those are sci-fi. I'm actually working on the third book for this month, and I'm shooting for at least 100K, if not going higher. So far, I've had actually some decent luck reaching the goals, but hoping I can go a lot further and maybe even finish the book this month.
Oh, that is so exciting. And thank you so much for joining us, Soul. And I am so stoked for this writing challenge. So I think any time that we can challenge ourselves to write more consistently, that is always a win. Everyone knows consistency is one thing I've been able to handle over the past year and a half. Let me throw up the plans on the screen. While I'm throwing that up, Mama Maggie, you're the one you're like our fearless leader in this August writing challenge. If you want to just share a little bit, like what is the August writing challenge? And then, what's your goal with it?
All the Words August originated from something called the August 18K 80K, which was a writing challenge that years ago, back 2017, before the pandy, before the world crashed and burned, a friend of mine was doing. She started doing it as a way to get back into the routine of writing for when, after she was done taking care of the grandkids for the summer. And her thing was write 18K, edit 80K. Well, I am a much wordier writer than she was, and what I would do is I would just blast. I decided to blast through and write 80K. Now, in the 6 years that I had done it before this year, I had only made the 80K 3 times, and 3 times I crashed and burned gloriously, as is my nature to like take the biggest challenge and either succeed or die. So I began. So I kept doing it after she passed away from COVID, and then we were talking about it at the AWC this year about how there's no mo nano because the things and the things. And a lot of people were doing the rough draft challenge in July, which a lot of us couldn't do because we had mom life things, summer life things, all these kind of things. And so we were talking about what to do for August. And I'm like, well, there's this thing. And then we were talking and we were like, well, 18K and 80K, there's a big gap in the middle. We need a middle number. So we went with 48K. And then it was like, well, let's make this more about redeveloping the writing routine, because that was Jean's original idea, is to get back in the routine of writing. And I don't know about the rest of you all, but 2025 has been a dumpster fire in more ways than one. Routine, who needs no? You don't need no stinking routine. Yes, I do. I need a routine. So we decided to come up with making it a routine and including, like, because people can't write every day of the week. Not everyone can write 31 straight days in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Not, some people, they can only write 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, when they have a lunch break, when they're commuting, something in the evening. Some people can only write on the weekends. So we have 3 plans. Plan 1 is 31 days. And if you go to the tiny URL, you can actually, I did the math for you, how many words you need to do per day for each word count. So tier 1, 18K, 581 words, 580 words a day for the 31 days plus 20 extra words. Tier 2 for the 48K is 1,548 words. Tier 3 for the 80K, 2,580 words, with a few extra words because the math is weird. For the rest of them, I just rounded up. If you want to just
Mm-hmm.
add 1 to each of those numbers, you'll get your numbers in.
Mm-hmm.
Then we did plan 2, which is the 5 days a week plan. I did all the math for you for the 18, 48, and 80K, how many words you need to do per day for the 5 days a week that you're working. And plan 3, the weekender plan, that is 2 days a week, and it works out to 10 days a month.
Mm-hmm.
So it works out very, very easy math on that. And so the whole thing isn't really about the word count. I mean, the word count is like a fun aspect to it. And it's kind of the thing that is pushed in writing circles, is
Mm-hmm.
doing word count challenges. But really, it's about the day count. It's about developing a sustainable writing routine so that you can have a practice of writing to refill your own creative writing well, as well as sustainable productivity. Because, NaNoWriMo is a great challenge, 50,000
Mm-hmm.
words in a month. They're doing 100,000 word quarter challenge. And September, there's a September 100,000 word challenge coming up too. And it's like,
Okay.
doing these word count goals are great, but if you're not in a habit of writing, like Kaufman does streams every
Mm-hmm.
single day, he spends a minimum of 30 minutes a day writing
Mm-hmm.
every single day. If you do not have that routine and you go into one of these large word count challenges where you don't have a world built, you don't have characters constructed, you don't have the plotting done. If you walk into one of these challenges and thinking, oh, I haven't written for 5 months, but I'm going to write this many thousand words a day, you are going to crash and burn gloriously.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have burnout so bad by day 30 that you're going to throw the book manuscript you made into the round file, hit that delete key, and you're never going to pick it up again.
I think this is definitely one of the reasons that a lot of that so many writers attempt to write a book and then never finish it. I think because there's so many ideas and so much work that goes into developing it, but I think without a consistent routine, that works for your lifestyle, I think
Mhm.
that there is the key to success, because life's going to knock you down again, right? You're going to get
Yeah.
busy with school, with work, with family, with whatever it is, right? And it's all right to take a break, right? It's all right to focus on other things. But if you have a consistent routine, then you're able to keep that routine going. You need to press pause, come back to it, and keep the routine going.
And not having the pressure and the bias of real writers saying,
Mhm.
"Oh, well, you can't write that many words in a month.
Mhm.
Why are you even here?" You know what?
Mhm.
This is my 55-year-old stretch marked booty, and you can bite it because there is no one
Mhm.
writing thing to perfect anything. There is no one perfect writing system. You do you, boo. And
Mhm.
what you have to do is if you are trying to work into a routine at the beginning of every year after most of December off, I do the 85K 90, which is 85,000 words in 90 days. And that is just to ease me back into the routine of writing. Now, this year that crashed and burned with everything else in the first 2 quarters of the year. And July wasn't fun either. So I have the rest of quarter 3 and quarter 4 to get myself back into a routine. And that's why I'm doing this now. I'm getting myself back in a routine. And I'm very happy that all of you are going on this journey with me. And, pick the lowest number, pick the middle day count. Do something that is realistic for your life schedule. Because just jumping feet first into these giant challenges, if you are not in a routine of doing that, if you are not a word vomiting hummingbird who never edits anything for years at a time, it's fine. But if you're not in any habit of writing at all, you need to work yourself into it. It's like going to the gym. You are not going to go to the gym and deadlift 500 pounds. It's not happening. Start small, work yourself into the repetitions of developing a habit, and you can do this too.
All right, awesome. So yeah, I completely agree with that, and I think I can speak to everyone here. I think all four of us have had a lot of success with consistency. All three of you have published your own books through a matter of finding consistent routines that worked well for you guys. What I think something I'd like to ask you guys is, when outside of creating the writing routines for yourselves, how did you keep yourself going when you when life got in the way?
I have like OCD goal brain.
Hmm.
So once I once I bite into a task, my brain doesn't let go of it. So shifting that from daily life to recovering from my stroke and relearning language to writing books, then to editing, formatting, and publishing books. For me, it's just like my goal brain is not happy until I'm like, ah, my precious. This is what
I love
goal
that.
brain wants.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's what I do. But it's with my migraine storms that I have, that like where I will literally spend days in a dark room
Hmm.
chewing up pharmaceuticals that have no effect whatsoever, and the doctor changes and stabs me with a needle and gives me IVs, and I have learned to give myself the grace of, if my brain is not going to do this today, I'm not going to do this.
Hmm.
Do I have to make up for the numbers later? But I think the biggest thing is try to set yourself a realistic schedule and give yourself the grace to slide that schedule if life gets in the way.
For me, it is one is creating goals, but then remembering to enjoy the journey, getting to the goal, and
Hmm.
realizing the journey isn't always straightforward.
Hmm.
And that if I'm not happy with where I ended up, then to reevaluate everything I've done and come up with a new goal.
I really like that. I really I resonate with that one as well. I think I really try to at least on my streams, I really try to reinforce that you can enjoy every single part of the process for different reasons. And a lot of time writers love the writing. They love the idea part. They enjoy the writing part. And then once they get to revising or editing, it's always a mixed bag on if writers actually like that part or not.
my critique partner I had for years, which I think we're going to pick back up at the end of this year because she just
Mhm.
got really busy at work. Morgan Lee, she's here on YouTube. She does not like the writing part. She loves revising and editing, but getting those
Interesting.
words down is the hardest part for her, and she hates it.
Interesting. That's a rare one. I don't hear that one as often.
I always love it.
Um, Interesting. Okay.
I think for myself, just one, I don't want my husband to shame me again. But I've found that if I don't enjoy what I'm writing, I'm definitely going to have a much harder time. So, what helps with my consistency, at least, is just work. If I can't work on what I want to work on, then work on something I'm enjoying until I'm like, you know what, I'm sick of this, or I have this idea for what I'm really supposed to be doing, and then I go back to it. But that way, I'm not boring myself.
Procrastination productivity is a valid expression of writing.
And I can definitely see that from some of our comments. I know Lynn had asked about where we're writing from, and I think having a writing environment can kind of help us with our goals and staying with some type of consistent process. I know even Blast, you were saying that you show up to work an hour early and sit in your car to write, and then do revisions over lunch. Like that's super powerful because you could easily just go sit in your car and just go scroll mindlessly on social media, right? And I think being able to keep yourself in that mindset of, hey, stay in the creative brain is really, really powerful.
And finding those little snippets during the day to write. I
Mm-hmm.
When my kids were in school, I would write at the bus stop. Sit at the bus stop in the middle of nowhere,
Mm-hmm.
scribbling in a notebook, waiting for the bus to roll around and drop off the minions. Because there's nothing that says, oh, you have to have a specific place and a
Mm-hmm.
specific thing, and you have to, absolutely no sound at all. I do not know how people can write with no noise. Maybe it's that oldest of six kids thing that, four kids and two foster brothers and noise on the farm all around me all the time. I can tune out Armageddon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Wow.
can't. I can't have like, I guess noise, like background noise, like cars and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. I'd rather not have that. I work better without. But like other people, like music, like when people play music on their channel, I can't do it. It continuously interrupts my thinking. Like I can have music playing, or I can have it silent, and that works best for me. But I think it's because for me, my brain, I always have like 1,000 things happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to figure out a way to get it to calm down so I can get to a story. And then that's like when my brain's like the only time it's calm is when I'm getting into a story. But then if something happens to pull me out, then then it's hard to get back in again. I don't know. Explain.
Interesting. I think I can work under any musical circumstance or any background noise. I'm just like I kind of just take it into like it's like the background of the journey, but I focus more on instrumental stuff because I think it based on polling, it seems like the greater majority of writers tend to prefer non-lyrical music in a writing sprint. Is what I've learned.
I
I
am
say
honestly the opposite. When
I like
I'm
mine with
playing music,
or with
I've got like soundtrack stuff on, and it's
with
not that I
words.
don't like instrumental, but I prefer instrumental if I'm trying to sleep and trying to relax. If I
Mm-hmm.
am writing, no, please, for the love of God, give me my soundtrack, give me my electronica, and I am happy.
Is that maybe because like you trained yourself to relax to instrumental music, so then to write to it is like your body saying, "No, I'm supposed to be relaxing."
I guess it's more of just I use lyrics to drown out my kids sometimes.
Oh, that was
But no, no, with the instrumental, I just naturally find a little more relaxing because instrumental, I listen to like Taylor Davis and Lindsey Sterling a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and just I don't have to focus on the lyrics. I mean, I don't always focus on the lyrics when I do have them playing, but I found lyrics actually do help me through some parts. I have a couple different playlists that I've used that have actually inspired some of my fan fictions, and sometimes the lyrics actually give me an idea to wait a minute. I'm in the middle of this chapter. I have no idea what I'm doing. Wait, what was that song that was really good? I'm going to use that. And just it's weird. The lyrics help with the ideas, and the instrument is just more like you can turn your brain off for like 2 seconds.
lyrics
I
is for me. They inspire ideas, and that's just like getting inspiration from art, the arts overall, the arts, like how you can write a poem from a painting or something, you know. So I do the same thing. The lyrics do a lot for inspiration for me too. But I think I'm under a different field, like because I'm partially tone deaf. So when I hear a song, there might be words I don't know what they're saying all the time. So,
So your brain's trying to figure out what the words are instead
well,
of focusing on the writing.
tune out the words more, but I do tend to listen to certain playlists of the words I already know. So like I know the words so well that the words are not new coming into my brain as the music's playing as I'm writing. So that doesn't distract me. But if it's something new, then I'll stop and get distracted.
I have playlist on my YouTube channel for different series that I'm writing and different characters. I actually have one playlist that's called The War Oracle's Voice, which is basically songs like epic female vocals with rock backgrounds that literally follow Daisy's arc through Relic of Time War. But yeah, I have, but like I'm a method. I know, everyone knows what a method actor is. Well, I'm a
Mhm.
method writer. So I engineer my environment for whatever whip that I'm working on. Like the one that I was working on today when Kaufman pulled me in, I was listening to Timmy Trumpet, which is idiom music with a jazz mix in it, and I was just jamming along typing, and Kaufman's like, Maggie, I'm here. What? Yes, hello.
Awesome. Well, I absolutely love it. And I can tell that we have definitely different musical preferences with some of our writers here in the chat as well. But I think now is probably an excellent time to hop into a writing sprint. So let's get into our first writing sprint. We're going to do 45 minutes. We're going to try to see how many words we can knock out in this first sprint. We'll see how many sprints we can get in today. I know I'm not sure which tier I'm going for or which plan. Obviously I'm doing daily, but I guess maybe 18. My goal is 80. We'll see where I can achieve. It sounds like each of you are going for the plan 3 for the or which plan are you guys aiming for?
I'm going for plan 2, which
Plan
is
2?
the 5 days a
5
week
days a week,
plan.
right?
I'm doing just 80. I'm going for the 80,000 plan, but I'm probably going to hit 100,000 because I want to finish my book, and I think that's how much more it's going to take. And I
Okay.
can't plan days because I always have things that come up that take over whatever it is I'm needing to get done.
Okay.
But when I can write a lot.
Okay.
I'm shooting for plan 1 with at least 100K, if not more.
Okay. So it sounds like we all have some pretty good goals. And for everyone here in the chat, whether you're aiming for daily writing, 5 days or 2 days a week, remember it's not about comparison. It's about what is
Yes.
sustainable for your writing routine and what works with your lifestyle. So I know, right? What actually works for your brain, whether you're listening to music or not, or maybe you're listening to the music in your heart. All right, my friends. And as you can see, so I have the writing software set up here. We're going to do 45 minutes on the clock, and I think I'm all set with that. I've thrown up the different tier plans here, so that way you can just check that out if you're trying to figure out what type of tier you want to do, and we'll do what we do. We'll reconvene in 45 minutes, and we'll check in, and we'll see how our writing is going. I am wishing everyone the best of luck. Let's get some words in, whether you are writing, brainstorming, revising, editing, author branding, or maybe you're just trying to get consistent. Come join us because it's time to write now. All right. And writing sprint number 1 done. How did that sprint treat you, my friends?
611.
Nice. Nice. Very, very nice work. I feel like that's a good start for that sprint. Um are you working on the I forgot what you're working on. You're working on a draft of your novel, right?
I'm working on Relic of Time War,
Mhm.
the 13th novel, The Shadow Hunt.
Mhm.
Um, this is the one where everybody has to jump back, where they're basically they've won the war against the shadows, but now they have to start jumping through time to make sure the shadows don't undo the victory.
Oh, sounds fun.
Because those who control time control destiny. So
Ooh, I do love time travel.
yeah, and it's turning out to be a really hard write because
Mhm.
most of the events,
Mhm.
well, the base events are things that have already happened in the earlier 12 books,
Mhm.
but I'm now having to write the preparation, them going, them coming, all, and it's like so there's this whole world around these little pockets where the time travelers appear.
Mhm.
And it's got to feel fresh and it's got to feel new. But the dialogue when the time travelers interact with the people who are only going forward in time has to be the
Mhm.
same. So
Mm,
everything else
interesting.
has to change, but
Mhm.
the dialogue has to remain unchanged.
Interesting. I feel like anything that involves time traveling always deals with a very specific set of rules, and there's so much logistical. I feel like there's such a larger investment into understanding the world building. Otherwise, readers will pick and point out when things about time travel don't work.
Yeah, and the
Mhm.
rules I have for my time travel thing are like very very strict. Like you can only go to a specific time year,
Mhm.
twice per orbital cycle. So if you try to
Mhm.
go make 3 trips to a specific year,
Mhm.
it will not let you. You either have to go a year before the
Mhm.
last trip or a year after the earliest trip.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, there's some very specific things. And because my one of my main characters is a physicist,
Mhm.
math is all her thing, and she understands that the butterfly effect is a problem because there was at the very end of the first book, 2 of the characters went back to the future at the wrong point in the and they arrived in a future that
Mhm.
was an apocalyptic version of the world, and the world they knew did not exist anymore. So
Oh
they had
wow.
to steal back the time machine and jump back to before the point they left.
Mhm.
Also, being twice can kill you. They, they have developed cuffs
Oh my
that emit
goodness.
an energy field that
Uh-huh.
will emit an energy field, but they
Mhm.
require so much energy that you only have like 2 to 3 weeks
Mhm.
being twice, and the other you is like sick the whole time.
Interesting.
It's like the worst flu you've ever had.
What interesting.
You have,
What a really interesting set of rules. I'm intrigued. I'm very, very much intrigued by that. I love time travel stories. How about Yusul? And by the way, for anyone who's just hopping in, welcome, welcome, welcome. We just finished up our first writing sprint. We're just seeing how we're doing. How many words did you get? I saw a bunch of you guys throw in some words here. White's here, 547. Lynn, 652. Calvin, 615. DM, 868. We're getting a little closer to our plan, closer to what we're trying to achieve. I myself during that sprint got 0. But I'm planning for this chapter right now. So I'm for
you just
everyone who knows, the past week and a half has been very much focused on probably the most difficult chapter in the Scarecrow book.
you just had
Um,
this huge tense the battle chapter.
oh my goodness. I knew in the second draft it would be crazy when I to actually like write it. I'm so proud of how the chapter came out. The chapter came out excellent. and I'm very happy with like tonally pacing wise, it's great. But now like I look at the next two chapters and I had specifically plotted it out in a way where the reader is so rewarded by this crazy battle that happens, like, well, that's like the craziness, but that's actually the setup to what's actually about to happen. Um, so like these next two chapters, which leads to the midpoint, or which really is the midpoint, there it's a lot more plot focused in the next chapter. So I'm trying to make sure that logistically, all like the plot points, I have to make sure that it works, especially with the revision stuff that I've gone through. So it's just a lot of logistical planning on my end. So how many words did you knock out?
About 1,100, 1,200, and I kept getting distracted.
Wow.
And I was going between, like, I was going back and forth between two different stories.
Mm-hmm.
I'm for Pirates, Raging Inferno. I'm just kind of stuck on one part, so
Mm-hmm.
kind of just went to one of my fan fictions for a moment until I can figure out the third chapter. So
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. And it definitely sounds like we've all kind of been working on some different things over here. Welcome back, Shannon. How were you able to get some words in on that sprint?
Also, I'm not able to write right now. I've got a few more things I got to finish
Okay.
up for my
Kind
admin
of doing
stuff.
more like branding, author stuff.
Yeah, doing some author stuff. So
Mhm.
I'm hoping, I don't know how long you're going. Eventually, before the end of tonight, I will be doing some revising.
Hey, I'm right there with you sometimes. And I think sometimes we forget, right? If we're not like writing, that there's other parts of being an author that we also have to, we still have to do the things.
Yeah.
So I totally respect that. And I know a lot of times we'll have writers pop in and they'll be working on like, got to get like the emails out, the newsletters, got to do the social media stuff. All part of the journey, my friends.
Yeah, and then I just came back from a 2.5 week vacation, so there was a lot of stuff I had to get through.
Always fun. Well, it's I think it's interesting where we're all kind of working on vastly different styles of work right now. And it sounds like everyone made some really great progress in the chat. And I think when I saw in the chat prior to the sprint, I think a lot of the writers are going for the daily writing. I saw a lot of writers aiming for the daily writing goal for the plan one. I saw a lot of plan ones earlier. Let's see. Yeah, I saw a lot of the plan ones. So I think I also made a decision that I'm going to try to aim for. I mean, I'm already daily writing, but I think I'm going to aim for the plan one, like the lowest tier, and then just surprise myself for any like word count I get above that. And then I think I'm gonna track my just overall revision words I've gone in since like the thing started. So I think I'll just start wherever that chapter, the Colosseum's chapter started, and then just go from there and see how much words I've accomplished throughout the month.
I think that's a good way to kind of pace yourself and figure out what works for you.
Mm-hmm. Because I mean, I got through. I mean that Colosseum chapter, which is super long. Oh my goodness, the longest chapter in the book. It's about 5,500 words. I'm like,
Long chapter.
huh?
That's a long chapter.
It is. It is. I've tried to keep my chapters about like 4K. I think the Act 2 chapters tend to be around the 4K mark, and then the Act 1 chapters are more around like the 2 to 3K mark. And I went back and forth so many times, Shannon. I'm like, all right, make the chapter shorter, but it's like monumentally a crazy chapter, and all the lead ups are relevant. So I'm gonna try it out and see how it feels.
I think if you got one chapter in there that's like that, I think you're going to be okay.
Yeah, exactly. I do feel like it's probably the only chapter that is that long in the book. I'm like, I think my climax is a little bit more.
So chapter is really like all about pacing.
Exactly.
So if the pacing's calling for that, it's going to fit right in with what the reader is getting from the story.
Yep, and that's what I'm hoping. Oh man,
Goodness, I would not even know where you could divide that chapter. Like if you were going to split it down into
I
two
know.
chapters.
It's because I went back and forth between there's the character setups for the pre-battle, and then the place to break it up would be the characters trying to save the main character, and then the start of the fight. But I feel like I feel like that helps with the pacing and the tonality.
If I was writing it as a serial, the place I would break it would be when Scarecrow loses his hat and he's like, my hat, and then I would cut it right there
Mm.
so that you end that chapter with, he's lost his hat again. Oh God. Oh God. But I'm
Uh,
that sadistic person that I'm like, here, let's go stand on the edge of the cliff. Oops.
yeah, I thought about that as well. I know Sully had recommended at one point breaking publishing Scarecrow in like segments in different
Mhm.
I know you guys had recognized that as well. I think when I think about it overall, I think I want it to be one like standalone, or not standalone, I'm part of a series obviously, but one like story back to back, even if it's a longer word count. But I'm gonna try to solve my word count problem in the next draft.
Something that I heard recently, which I have no idea how this could work for me at all
Mhm.
because I write long, is that if your book is like more than like 120,000 words, you need to make it 120,000 words. That's what this author was saying.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, why? And I think it was a webinar I was in. Yeah, it was a webinar I was in earlier this week.
Mhm.
And because exponentially, when you go over that word count and you're trying to sell your book and get it printed through distributions, you do not make up that money that it costs, that much more money that it costs to print it. Instead, you have to keep raising your prices to try and make up
Mhm.
that money. And so it's not really good business sense to
Mhm.
have a really long book.
Yeah, I've absolutely heard that as well, and I think that's another that's definitely another factor that books that are longer like that generally won't be will be accepted less when going for like agents or going for
Why? Because of
more
the paper
publishing
costs and the
because
exponential.
it's a money thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I would.
Um,
Relic of Time Wars was originally 5 books,
mhm.
5 immense home defense volume, and Brandon Sanderson would be proud of the word count kind of books. But I noticed something that reading the serialized fiction, they were okay
Mhm.
reading long things because it was broke up and they got little bits of it. But the whole when you say here's a 220,000 word book, people are like, "Ugh," you know. And selling the books, break it when I broke them up, I broke it up into 12 books. And I found that the shorter books are doing better because people look at the page count, they look at the word count, and they're not as intimidated. Now, fantasy readers, the hardcore sci fi, space opera readers, hardcore fantasy readers, they don't care about the big word counts and the big page counts. They like that. But the
Because they want to get pulled
majority
into a story and a full
but
world.
the majority readers, if you're going
Mhm.
to reach out of that little niche of readers, they get intimidated at anything past 80,000 words.
Mhm.
And so it's there's so much marketing that goes into how many pages do I sell this as? How many word
Mhm.
counts? How many words am I going to put in there? How many hours is this going to turn into as an
Mhm.
audiobook? Because that is something else that you need to think about because it's the studio time recording the book that you pay for and
Mhm.
editing the book. And so, yeah, it's there's so many different levels. And
Mhm.
once you, like Shannon was saying, once you get past that 120,000 word bridge,
Mhm.
the publisher starts losing money on printing the books, and you start losing money printing the books.
Mhm. Hence another reason I need to once I get through this draft, I need to figure out how to get cut down on Scarecrow's length. I think the draft's probably going to end around 160. I'm like, oh, there.
My current book
I'll
is
probably be able to
200.
get it close to what was that?
So my current book looks like it's gonna be 200,000 before I finish it.
Oh, really?
Oh my
So,
gosh, this is too long.
so you definitely have some words to get rid of.
I don't know because I've got 3 Omega readers. So these are like readers who like they went to read the what I'm writing right now, and I'm like, it's
Mhm.
not gone through anybody. It's not even been really revised. So they're reading through it, and I'm saying, okay, I think I should cut this chapter or I should cut it down or whatever. And all 3 of them are like, no, the story moves fast. This is good. And I'm like, okay.
And I mean, I think there is a reader. I think there is a readership for the epic length novel, but I think kind of like highlighting what both of you shared, I think it comes down to understanding who is your target reader, who's your readership. Like, because like you guys said, there's a difference between somebody who doesn't have that much time and wants to read 80,000 shorter form writing as compared to somebody who wants to read 120, 160, 200K and doesn't really care about that. Two different styles of reading.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
Awesome. Well, I can definitely tell that we have some great progress here in the chat. Lena, you said you're a beta reading a short story for your writing group. We definitely got a good amount of writers coming in from different writing groups, which is awesome, by the way. And I can tell everyone's kind of working on different like areas of the writing process. I feel like we have a healthy mix of writing and a lot of revising going on today as well. I've seen a lot of people are working on revising stuff. Awesome. So on that note, let's hop back into another writing sprint. Let's get some more writing in. So I feel pretty good about this. I'm going to go same time, 45 minutes. We're going to try to stay and see how consistent we can be. So whatever your goal was, whatever you achieved in that last sprint, let's try to meet that goal. Maybe double it. Now that we've got into the vibe, I feel like now is a good time to like, okay, now we can push ourselves now that we are in the writing mindset. All right. And oh yeah, and I totally forgot. As of course, Kaufman always forgets to do this. By the way, if you are enjoying the stream and you need a daily writing community, then you've come to the right place. 585 consecutive writing streams and counting. If you're looking for daily writing community sprints, we do critique streams, we do writing events, fiction contest, writing conferences, writing workshops, and all the things, then make sure to tap that follow or subscribe button and you'll be alerted when we go live. All right, my friends. And on that note, let's hop back into a writing sprint. All right. So I got, oh, that does not look good. There we go. So I got 45 minutes on the clock and let's get into it. Whether you are writing, revising, branding, author, editing, or anything in between, come join us because it's time to write now.